They put up a gate where my road had been for 70 years. They did it like they were installing a mailbox, like it was just another home improvement project. The problem was that road wasn't just some driveway. It was the only way in and out of my land. If you're going to understand why I ended up standing behind a bulldozer at 7 in the morning with a sheriff watching and a court order folded in my back pocket, you need to understand the road. I own 80 acres of timberland up in northern New Hampshire, just shy of the Vermont line. It's not flashy wealth, not yacht money, but it's steady. The land sits deep with one dirt road that cuts in from the county highway, winds through 3 separate parcels, and reaches my boundary line. That road's been there since the 1950s, when the original timber company carved it out. Every deed, including mine, has referenced the same thing: a permanent, unrestricted right-of-way. For years, I maintained the road myself, keeping it graded, no complaints. Then Caleb and Marissa Whitaker showed up. They were from Connecticut. They bought the first parcel at the entrance to the road, paid cash, closed in 10 days. Folks in town were suspicious. Fast money, fast deals, rural towns don't miss that. I first met Caleb when I was hauling timber. He stepped out of a shiny new SUV, boots clean, shirt pressed. "You live back here?" he asked. "Own the timber at the end," I told him. He was friendly enough, asked about hunting season, snow depth, all the usual small talk. Marissa stayed in the car. I thought they'd either fall in love with the place or be gone in 3 winters. 3 weeks later, I came down the road after checking boundary markers and hit the brakes so hard my thermos went flying. There was a gate, an 8-foot-tall steel structure with stone pillars, keypad entry cameras, and fresh gravel around the base. It looked like the entrance to a private estate, not a shared access road in the woods. I stared at it. My first reaction wasn't anger, it was disbelief. Then I saw the sign bolted to the stone: private property, no trespassing. I called Caleb. "What's up?" he answered, cheerful as ever. "I'm looking at what's up," I said. "You've got a gate across the access road." "Oh yeah," he said, like we were talking about patio furniture. "We had it installed for security. Marissa's been nervous about people driving through." "No," I said, keeping my voice steady. "That's my right-of-way. You can't block it." "It's not blocked," he replied quickly. "I'll give you the code. It's just for security." At that moment, something shifted in me, not because of the gate, but because of the tone. He was granting me permission to use what was already mine. I told him it wasn't conditional, that gate had to come down. He told me we'd have to disagree. I drove into town, not to the hardware store, but to see Henry Dalton, the attorney who'd handled my closing. Henry's been practicing property law for decades. He didn't ask why I was there, just pulled my file. "What'd they do?" he asked. "Put up a gate," I said. "Across the easement." He looked at the deed. "Permanent, unrestricted, that's clean." "So they can't?" I asked. "No, they can't." And in that moment, I realized it wasn't about a gate anymore. It was about whether a piece of paper still meant something in a place that prided itself on handshake deals and neighborly respect. Henry asked, "Do you want to ask nicely or do this properly?" I didn't hesitate. "Properly." Henry drafted a formal notice that afternoon. It demanded removal of the gate within 10 days. We gave them a chance. A few days passed and nothing happened. Then I started seeing construction trucks, big flatbeds, hauling lumber, concrete mixers, landscaping crews. Caleb and Marissa weren't just building a cabin, they were building a statement. The road was getting torn up. I called Caleb. "Are you planning to help with maintenance?" I asked. "Your crews are tearing up the grade." "My lawyer advised me not to discuss shared costs until the access issue is resolved," he replied. There it was again, that shift in tone. "You mean the illegal gate?" I asked. "I mean the disputed interpretation," he said. And that's when it hit me. It wasn't about security, it was about control. They had paid a lot for privacy, and the idea that someone else had a legal claim cutting straight through it must have felt like a flaw in their dream. Instead of adjusting the dream, they were trying to adjust the law. Henry filed for an injunction on day 11. 6 weeks passed before we got a hearing date. In that time, the house rose from foundation to frame. Every time I punched in the code to open the gate, something twisted in my gut. It wasn't the inconvenience. It was the principle, the quiet message that I was entering their domain, not exercising my own right. Finally, Marissa spoke to me one afternoon. I had stopped just inside the gate to wait for a logging subcontractor. "You really couldn't just use the code?" she asked, tired. "It's not about the code," I said. "It feels like it is," she replied. "We moved here to get away from constant traffic." "Constant traffic," I said gently. "It's me and a few trucks during harvest season." She looked past me at the road. We didn't know, she admitted. The realtor made it sound minimal. There it was, a crack in the story. They should have shown you the deed, I said. It's recorded. She nodded slowly. Caleb thinks if we just formalize it, everyone will feel better. I already have it formalized, I answered. The hearing was set for a Tuesday morning in late April. The courthouse smelled like wet coats and old wood. Judge Ella Porter presided. Is there any language in this easement that conditions access on permission or technological entry? She asked their attorney. No, Your Honor, he replied. She flipped through the documents for less than a minute. The easement is unrestricted. A locked gate, even with a code, constitutes an obstruction. The defendants are ordered to remove the gate within 14 days. Failure to comply would authorize me to remove it at their expense. Outside the courthouse, Caleb caught up to me. You really going to push this? He asked. I didn't start it, I said. We're trying to protect our home, and I'm trying to access mine. He shook his head. This is going to make things awkward. It already has, I replied. 14 days passed. The gate was still up. On day 14, I called Henry. They've had their chance, I said. He didn't hesitate. Then we follow the order. I called a local contractor named Russ Bennett, a quiet guy who runs heavy equipment like it's part of him. You free Friday morning? I asked. What are we moving? He replied. A gate. Russ chuckled. I'll bring the dozer. The night before, I barely slept. Not from fear, but from the weight of it. Rural communities have long memories. I wasn't just removing steel and stone. I was drawing a line in public. At dawn, fog hung low over the road. Russ unloaded the bulldozer, slow and deliberate. The sheriff's cruiser idled nearby. I walked up to the keypad one last time and entered the code. The gate swung open. I folded the court order, slid it into my jacket pocket. Ready, Russ called from the cab. I looked at the stone pillars, the cameras, the metal bars gleaming in the early light. Yeah, I said quietly. Let's clear the road. Russ didn't gun the engine. He eased the bulldozer forward. The steel gate met the blade with a screech, and then the hinges gave way with a sharp metallic snap. The stone pillar cracked like old bone. In 5 minutes, the road was clear. The sheriff watched, arms crossed. Caleb and Marissa pulled up just as Russ finished. Caleb stepped out first, face flushed. What the hell is this? He demanded. You had 14 days, I said, handing him the folded order. He scanned it, searching for a loophole. You destroyed private property, he said. You failed to remove an unlawful obstruction, Henry replied. As authorized, my client remedied it. Caleb looked at Russ, at the sheriff. You think this is over? He asked. It was over 14 days ago, I answered. For a moment, I thought he might escalate it, but Marissa touched his arm. Let's go, she said quietly. They got back in the SUV, drove off without another word. When the sound of their engine faded, the woods felt different. Not quieter, but settled, like something that had been out of alignment had clicked back into place. 2 weeks later, I was served with papers. Caleb had filed a civil claim for destruction of property and emotional distress. Henry didn't even blink when I brought the envelope. Some folks can't stand losing, he said. The hearing lasted less than an hour. Judge Porter dismissed the claim. She also awarded me legal fees and ordered reimbursement for $4,200 in road repairs. When we stepped outside the courthouse, Caleb didn't approach me. He just got in his car and drove off without looking back. Summer came and went. The Whitakers finished their house. It was beautiful. But something had changed. They no longer waved when we passed. Contractors stopped showing up. The house sat quiet, blinds half drawn. Rumors drifted that they hadn't anticipated the realities of rural living. By spring, the property had sold. New buyers came by with a pie. We just want to introduce ourselves, the husband said. We sat at my kitchen table and I explained the easement, the maintenance schedule, the logging seasons. Seems straightforward enough, the wife said. It was. And that's the thing about all of this. People ask me if I regret how it went down. Maybe life would have been quieter without the fight. But here's what I keep coming back to. If I had accepted that keypad even politely, it would have shifted the balance. It would have turned a right into a favor. And favors can be revoked. Rights, when written clearly and defended properly, endure.